Elon Musk officially confirms his wedding plans. I never imagined I'd be uttering these words once more, but life has a way of surprising us. For so long, I poured everything into my work, launching rockets, revolutionizing transportation, and pursuing visions that seemed out of reach. But now, I've chosen a new path. I'm getting married again. That's right, I'm tying the knot. If this news brings you joy, drop your well wishes in the comments below. I'll take the time to read each one personally. Many of you are familiar with the roller coaster of my previous marriages, the highs, the lows, and the endless media buzz. But today isn't about tabloid fodder. It's about a revelation I've had, that human bonds outweigh even the grandest ambitions. That true affection infuses meaning into our pursuits. And that we're not designed to navigate existence in isolation. Let me share the story of how this unfolded. About 3 months back, amid all my triumphs, a profound emptiness lingered. I'd wrapped up yet another exhausting stretch of discussions on interplanetary travel and brain-machine tech. Yet, returning home that Friday evening, the quiet was overwhelming. All these milestones, but no one truly close to celebrate them with, the real me, beyond the boardrooms and blueprints. It hit me. I craved a break from the corporate grind, a chance to engage with everyday folks, not just colleagues and innovators. So, I began lending a hand at a modest food pantry in Austin. No frills, just arriving early on weekends to assist struggling families. That's where I crossed paths with Sarah. At 30, she's a dedicated elementary educator, and from her very first appearance there, she stood out. Not for superficial reasons, but for a remark she made during our initial chat. We were on a quick break, and the group was sharing why they volunteered. Responses ranged from altruism to community involvement to filling spare time. When Sarah's turn came, she reflected briefly before saying, "I do this to rehearse the kind of individual I aspire to be." That idea struck me like a thunderbolt. I'd absorbed countless inspirational sayings and leadership mantras over the years, but hers was refreshingly unique. It framed volunteering not as obligation or virtue signaling, but as intentional self-shaping. Intrigued, I followed up later. "What exactly do you mean?" She elaborated. "I aim to cultivate empathy that spots others' struggles and responds without hesitation. To build reliability, showing up rain or shine. You don't evolve into that by mere intention, you live it out repeatedly." This wasn't naive optimism, it was insight earned through experience, something I'd only grasped after years of trial and error. True integrity forms from routine decisions, not flashy heroics. In the weeks that followed, I observed Sarah's genuine engagement. She recalled intimate details from volunteers and family stories. She tackled the toughest jobs proactively. She was fully immersed, undistracted by devices or wandering thoughts. One day, While we sifted through imperfect donations, she held up a dented package and mused, "It's like folks sometimes, outer flaws hide inner worth. You have to dig deeper." Her words transcended the task. That instant, I felt drawn to her intellect. Not her looks, though she's lovely, nor her youth or any pragmatic benefits, but her worldview, her principled evolution, her commitment to purposeful living. My history with marriage is well known, founded on elements like synergy, common objectives, and chemistry, vital, yet insufficient for endurance. This connection felt profound, rooted in profound respect for her essence. I yearned to explore her perspective lifelong. The 23-year gap gave me pause at first, 53 to her 30, but soon, I saw that insight stems not from calendar years, but from mindful living. Sarah had distilled essentials on altruism, integrity, and fulfillment that I'd chased for ages. After one volunteer shift, I mustered the courage to suggest coffee, not as the public figure, but as the evolving individual. She agreed. We conversed for hours, steering clear of my tech empire. Instead, we delved into transformative reads on learning, her upbringing, and life's core significance. I opened up about rare topics, the hollowness of accolades without rapport, my dawning grasp that victories ring false sans companionship. "I've seen a shift in you here," she noted. "More grounded, more authentic." She nailed it. Stripped of spotlights and scrutiny, I was simply contributing, unmasked. I invited her to dinner next. She accepted. Our dialogue spanned pedagogy, cosmic ventures, environmental crises, yet circled back to essentials, crafting purpose-driven existences, syncing actions with core beliefs. Sarah's inquiries sharpened my views invigoratingly. On space ambitions, she'd probe ethically, how to honor terrestrial woes amid stellar dreams. Not adversarial, but inquisitive, enriching our exchanges. These talks transcended stimulation, they reshaped my outlook. I grew attuned to everyday habits, beyond visionary blueprints. 2 months in, conviction bloomed. I wanted her as my wife. It crystallized one weekend as she orchestrated a team effort seamlessly, fostering inclusion with grace and ingenuity. She didn't just inspire my improvement, she elevated all. In her company, I was more reflective, engaged, deliberate. She evoked a desire to match the ideal she perceived in me. Beyond affection for Sarah, I cherished my enhanced self beside her, the shared path we forged. Above all, I believed in her as my guide to self-betterment. 3 weeks passed. Amid our routine labors, I proposed unscripted. "Sarah," I said, pausing to meet her gaze. She sensed the gravity. "I adore you, your intellect, your compassion, your lens on reality. I adore the man I become near you." I revealed the understated ring. "Will you marry me?" Tears welled as she held my eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "Absolutely, yes. We're eyeing a modest gathering next spring, no extravagance, just heartfelt vows. Public chatter on our age disparity or intentions is par for the course in my orbit. But I urge you, particularly those seasoned by time, to grasp this. Romance isn't merely slotting into your current routine. Often, it's encountering one who illuminates superior living." Sarah revealed that virtue arises from habitual kindnesses, not triumphs alone. That profound labor may lie in quiet service. Crucially, later life bonds can eclipse youthful ones, enriched by clarity on priorities and gratitude for value-aligned souls. To my elders in their later decades, it's never untimely for romance. Never too late for a soul who reframes your reality. Yet such bonds demand authenticity, bearing flaws, embracing openness at any stage. Sarah opted for observed integrity over ease, glimpsed in unglamorous settings. That's enduring love, forged in character knowledge, beyond surface allure. I'm disclosing this to affirm that stellar unions emerge unexpectedly if you embody truth and attune to others' depths. Sarah and I connected via mutual self-cultivation. Now, we'll advance it jointly. Singles pondering reconnection, persist in value-aligned actions, unobserved if need be. You might find a kindred spirit nearby. Couples, nurture mutual evolution, upholding growth through shared practice. And to Sarah, gratitude for proving affection needn't be labyrinthine to be transformative. For revealing bonds thrive in unadorned service to greater goods. For affirming we're not questioning lovability, but readiness to embody our ideals. Candidly, post my prior union's fractures, I doubted rediscovery. Was I too demanding, work-obsessed, entrenched for permanence? Sleepless nights bred fears. Did my zeal for global fixes render me unpartnerable? Would fame forever erode closeness? Had I forfeited profound alliance for progeny and projects? I resigned to solitude, deeming some destinies world-altering, others love-sustaining, seldom overlapping. Sarah restored faith I'd nearly lost. The ideal match simplifies the tangled. Past stumbles weren't indictments of unloving capacity, they honed recognition of authenticity. Each honed my needs, offerings, and viable dynamics. She views my vocation as integral, mirroring her pedagogy in ours. No trade-offs between solos and union, they amplify. She embraces my core, fervor, perpetual pondering, mission focus, without alteration please. For once, I thrive as is, evolving collaboratively. Post-speculation storms on my romances, I comprehend the one, not flawlessness, but complementary quirks, symbiotic progress, inspiring worthiness. Dawn breaks after shadows, not via ease trials, but shared burdens. A comrade in values, deliberate living, hopeful resolve mirroring my endeavors. This inspires the disheartened, the doubting aged or complex, cease seeking, prioritize self-realization. Bonds bloom in unguarded authenticity, not flawlessness quests. Epic tales spark in subdued shared labors, admiring quiet fortitude. The pinnacle awaits. Forsake love not, deeming youth fled or errors fatal. I sought a high-achieving peer attuned to empire-building strains. Instead, a disparate soul reminded me those strains serve humanity's hopes. Age pales against aligned principles and esteem. Wisdom measures in reflective depth, not chronology. Unions excel in parallel journeys, not mirrors. Recall, superior ties stem from collective evolution, not extraction. The endeavor persists, refinement, enactment, ascension, with a companion. That alters everything. Before I go further, let me ask you something from the heart. Have you ever had to let go of someone or something you cared about deeply, not because you wanted to, but because you knew it was the right thing? Maybe a friendship, a dream, a city you loved, or even an old version of yourself you'd outgrown. If you've ever felt that, type "goodbye" in the comments. I want to see how many of you understand the ache of not just losing, but releasing. That's where I am right now. This isn't me reflecting on some past chapter. This is live, real, raw. I'm standing at the edge of a choice, staring into a space I can't fully see. And for the first time in a long time, I don't have every answer. It's strange, isn't it? You move forward with such certainty, convinced of your direction, and then one day a new door appears. You know stepping through it will change everything, yet you hesitate, one foot still on familiar ground. That's where I am, hovering between the world I know and the one waiting beyond, summoning the courage to move. But I don't want you to think of this as a sad moment. It isn't. It's real. This is the kind of moment that eventually comes to everyone, a moment of reckoning where you ask yourself what truly matters, what you're willing to release so something else can grow. Knowing that doesn't make it easier. My mind keeps inventing reasons to hold on, to keep everything exactly as it is. But somewhere deeper, beyond logic, I know, it's time. Time to create space. Time to let go. I'm sharing this because I've learned something. When you keep a truth like this locked inside, it grows heavier. But when you speak it, when you share it, it lightens, even if only a little. And I need that right now. I need you to understand this feeling, this weight of a decision, this quiet before a change. Because this isn't just my turning point. It's a human one. And like every turning point, it carries uncertainty, fear, but also a strange, glowing hope. In a few minutes, I'll tell you exactly why this goodbye must happen. But before that, I want you to feel it with me. The heartbeat of a moment where you know you're about to step into the unknown. Because this isn't just my story. It's ours. Everyone will one day face a goodbye they didn't plan, a goodbye they didn't want, but one that still shapes them. Feeling nervous, hesitating, holding on for just one last second, that's not weakness. That's humanity. Right now, I'm not speaking as a CEO or an innovator. I'm speaking as a person standing on the edge of a choice. My voice might sound calm, but my heart is pounding. My hands are steady, but inside I'm trembling. Because in a moment, I'll reveal what this goodbye means, and why I have no choice but to step forward. Why say goodbye at all when the world expects you to keep going? When everything on the outside looks fine? When people assume you'll always be there? Because sometimes the hardest part of success isn't starting something. It's knowing when to let go. Knowing when your presence is no longer propelling but holding back. Knowing when what you've built needs space to grow without you standing over it. That's where I am now. For years, my life has been about building rockets, cars, systems, ideas, futures. Each mission felt like the one that would define me forever. And for a time, it did. But missions have lifespans. They're born, they grow, they evolve. And sometimes they reach a point where your role isn't to grip tighter but to step aside and let them breathe. That's the goodbye I'm talking about. Not goodbye to life. Not goodbye to the dream. But goodbye to the version of me who always had to be at the center. There comes a point where you have to ask, am I doing this because it's still the best of me, or because I'm afraid of who I'll be without it? That question has followed me for months. And the answer, though painful, is clear. I have to step back. Not because I'm tired. Not because I've lost faith. But because there's a truth bigger than me. No one person is bigger than the mission. And if I truly believe in the future I've been speaking about all these years, then I have to trust others to carry it forward. And trust is the hardest part. Trusting that the engineers, the thinkers, the leaders can continue without me overseeing every detail. Trusting that I don't need to solve every problem personally. Trusting that I've done enough to give them the tools to thrive. But this goodbye is also a hello. A hello to challenges and places in myself I've never had time to explore. Because even after everything, there are parts of me still unfinished, ideas I've been too busy, too distracted, too hesitant to face. This goodbye isn't only about leaving something behind. It's about making space for what's ahead. Some will see this as weakness. They'll say I gave up. They'll say I couldn't handle it anymore. But they don't understand. Letting go isn't weakness. It's strength. It means you're not clinging to control. You're not ruled by fear. You're not hiding behind the safety of routine. It means you're alive enough to grow. Right now, I can feel two voices inside me. One shouting, "Stay. Don't change. People are counting on you." The other whispering, "Go. Trust. Breathe. Become something new." And for once, I'm listening to the whisper. That's why I have to say goodbye. Not because I'm running away, but because I'm running towards something else. Something I can't fully see yet, but I know is waiting on the other side of this leap. It's terrifying, standing in front of millions, admitting you don't have all the answers, saying you're stepping back when the world expects you to keep pushing. But if there's one lesson I've learned, it's this: fear is a compass. If something scares you this much, it usually means you're heading in the right direction. So I stand here not with sadness, but with gratitude. Gratitude for the journey. Gratitude for the chance to take the next step, even without knowing exactly where it leads. This is my goodbye. Not forever, but enough to change everything. When I say goodbye, I'm not speaking in riddles. I mean it. I'm saying goodbye to the life where I was everywhere at once, where every hour was consumed by projects, launches, deadlines, risks. I'm saying goodbye to the rhythm of constant urgency and constant responsibility that left me little room to breathe. Specifically, I'm saying goodbye to my role at the center of it all. The man who had to approve every design. The man who had to be in every meeting. The man who couldn't afford a single day of weakness because the entire world was watching. That version of me has to go. Because here's the truth I've been afraid to admit: I've been chasing so many futures, I forgot to live in the present. I forgot how it feels to sit quietly without my mind racing toward the next crisis. I forgot how to laugh without glancing at my phone. I forgot that being alive isn't measured only by milestones but by fleeting moments you never get back once they're gone. So my goodbye is about reclaiming those moments. Leaving behind the myth that I must sacrifice everything, my peace, my health, my relationships, to deserve success. That myth is seductive but destructive. And I've lived it long enough to know the cost. Success can look glamorous from the outside. But on the inside, it often feels like walking a tightrope over fire. Every step could be the one that makes you fall. Every mistake could ignite everything you've built. And after years of walking that rope, you start to wonder, is this the only way to live? For me, the answer came slowly. Little things: realizing I hadn't seen the sunrise in months because nights blurred into mornings. Talking to people I cared about and realizing I wasn't really there, my mind was already somewhere else. Achieving milestones and feeling nothing. No joy, no relief, just the next problem waiting. That's when I knew. This isn't sustainable. Not for me, not for anyone. You can't run at full speed forever. At some point, The engine that drives you becomes the engine that consumes you. That's why this goodbye had to come. Not to the dream. Not to the mission. But to the way I've been living that mission. I'm not abandoning what I built. I'm not turning my back on the future. But I am stepping away from carrying all of it on my shoulders. I'm handing it over to the teams, to the leaders who've proven they're ready. This isn't collapse. It's transition. And transitions hurt because they force you to confront the part of yourself that doesn't want to let go. I'll tell you something I've never said aloud. One night not long ago, I sat alone in my office after everyone had left. Papers scattered. Screens glowing in the dark. Silence louder than any rocket launch. And I asked myself, if I walked away tomorrow, what would remain? The answer wasn't the headlines. It wasn't the numbers. It was the people. The ones who gave their hearts to the vision. The ones who stayed late, sacrificed, believed. And I realized, I don't need to control them. I need to trust them. That was the turning point. Even now, a part of me wants to pull back. To say, never mind, I can still handle it. That's the addict in me, addicted to being indispensable. Addicted to the rush of control. But I know that's not true. The world doesn't end when one person lets go. Sometimes, it begins again. So this goodbye isn't about failure. It's about faith. Faith in others. Faith in the future. And yes, faith in myself, that I can be more than the man who never stopped working. Because I don't want my life remembered only in launches and headlines. I want it remembered in moments of honesty. In choices that showed courage on the inside, not just the outside. This goodbye is one of those choices. I don't know exactly what comes next. Maybe it's time to focus on what I've neglected. Maybe it's time to rediscover parts of myself buried under years of deadlines. Maybe it's time to step into silence long enough to finally hear my own voice again. Whatever it is, I know I can't reach it if I keep holding on to everything I've been. So here's my promise to myself, and to you. This goodbye is not an ending. It's a beginning. A beginning that will test me, change me, and I hope make me better. If you take one thing from this moment, let it be this: sometimes the bravest thing you can do is not to keep fighting, but to stop. To release. To trust. To say goodbye, even when it breaks your heart. Because only then can you discover what you were meant to find all along. If you've listened this far, thank you. Truly. Because what I've shared isn't easy to say. Goodbyes never are. But I want to leave you with lessons I've learned the hard way. Lessons that might help you with your own goodbyes. First, saying goodbye is not weakness. Our culture worships hustle and endurance. And yes, persistence matters. But sometimes the bravest act is letting go. If you cling too tightly, you risk crushing what you love under the weight of your fear. Real strength is knowing when your chapter is complete and having the courage to close the book. Second, don't confuse identity with role. For years, I believed I was defined by what I built. But who you are is not the same as what you do. Your worth exists beyond your job title, your successes. Sometimes you only realize that when you finally step away. Third, make space. Space to breathe, to think, to rediscover what matters. We fill our lives with noise until there's no silence left. But silence is where the answers live. Don't be afraid of it. Fourth, and maybe most important, trust. Trust others to carry what you no longer can. Trust life enough to believe the world will not collapse when you let go. Trust yourself enough to know you are more than the roles you've played. And finally, remember, every goodbye hides a hello. You may not see it yet. You may feel only the loss. But give it time. What looks like an ending can be the beginning of something new. So my advice to you, whether you're facing a goodbye to a person, a job, a dream, or an old version of yourself, don't run from it. Don't drown it in distractions. Don't pretend it doesn't hurt. Feel it. Say the words aloud. And then step forward, even if it's just one small step. Because forward is where life happens. Sometimes people think life is a straight road. You set a goal, you walk toward it, and when you arrive, you're complete. But that's not how it works. Life is a series of crossings, of detours, of forks where you decide, do I keep pushing the same way, or dare to turn? Often the turn is where you find the parts of yourself you never knew existed. That's why I say, don't fear change. Don't fear goodbye. Because you've already done it many times. You've said goodbye to the child you once were. To the teenager who thought they knew everything. To the younger version of yourself who believed life would always look a certain way. Each time it hurt. Each time it felt like loss. But each time it gave birth to who you are now. I encourage you, don't fear goodbye. Embrace it. Because behind every goodbye, there's a new horizon waiting. And maybe, just maybe, that horizon is exactly what you've been searching for. And if this message speaks to you, share it. Someone out there is struggling with their own goodbye and needs to know they're not alone. If you want to walk with me through these stories, the highs and the lows, the beginnings and the endings, stay connected. Because this isn't the end. It's just the end of one chapter. What goodbye is waiting for you? What is it you're holding on to too tightly, even though deep down you know it's time to let go?